Hello and welcome to Back at Camp, Mojave County's only outdoor television show. I'm your host, Don Martin, and on today's show I have the owner of the gun shop, Chris Wagner, who's going to show us some nice firearms that he has out in his shop, and we're going to talk just a little bit about some of the controversy surrounding the proposed gun law. So don't go away. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin. With me today is Chris Wagner. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Don.
Now, Chris is the owner of the gun shop, which is located at 4938 North Stockton Hill Road. And what's your phone number out there, Chris?
Phone number 928-681-4570.
Okay, now give me a little background about the gun shop. How long have you guys been in business?
Gun shop. Just recently we celebrated our second anniversary.
Okay.
2 years back in February of 2011.
Wow.
It's hard to believe it's gone by that fast, but looking back at what we've done over the 2 years, it's also hard to believe we've accomplished as much as we have.
Right.
Stocking up the shop and
right.
Earning the loyalty of our customers.
Right. Now, your shop, how big is it?
We've got 2,000 square feet.
Okay. And you guys carry a full line of sporting goods?
We carry a full line of firearms, ammunition, firearms accessories,
okay.
Hunting accessories.
Okay, and you've got everything in there from handguns, shotguns, rifles?
We run the gamut on firearms.
Okay.
We carry magazines associated with. We dip into the local hunting, the varmint calling, a little bit into the trapping.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your business, what do you think is especially right now, what is your high volume? What are people coming in looking for?
Well, recent times call for a big look at the ARs,
okay.
The black guns. There's been so much focus on them in the news. It has driven them into a frenzy.
Okay.
Purchasing has never been higher, and we're doing what we can to stock as many AR assault type firearms as we can, while the concealed carry, the defensive carry, still remains hot as well.
Okay. Now when we talk about the AR platforms, it's the fastest growing shooting platform in America today. In reality, I mean, we got these two here. We got a Colt and we got a Deltron AR made by Deltron. And in reality, I hear talk of assault military, but you know what? That is nothing more than a semi-automatic rifle, just like my grandfather's Remington 740 semi-automatic, hunting rifle. The difference is this one is for a 223, which is a relatively small round, where my grandfather's had a 30-06, which is a high-powered round, which was also used by the military in World War I, World War II, but much more powerful than the standard 223 round. Like I say, there's a lot of frenzy going on out there, and with the purported more gun laws restricting ownership on these, the value of these things have just went crazy in the past. Why don't you tell us the difference between the two that you have here?
Well, I start off by following up your comments on the military rifles and pointing out the fact that throughout our history, for well over 100 years, our sportsmen have integrated the military's technology as it came available to us into our sporting and our hunting, and that's nothing different than what's happened with these.
Right.
It's a shame that they've become associated with, I should say very unfairly, with the violence that's going on these days, because they're rarely ever involved in these things that we're hearing about on the news. It's the assumption that they were. That seems to be bringing the heat down on them. They're coming into their own now in the last 10 years as real sporting rifles,
right?
Largely for varmint callers, but they can move into the big game scene as well, with other calibers becoming available,
sure.
Being offered by the manufacturers now. Now the two that I brought today, the Colt SOCOM, just as hot as it gets as far as demand. This is the M4A1. This is a gun very, very similar to what our military is using. Very fine.
But it's semi-automatic, not full automatic.
This is semi-automatic.
Right,
That is
and
correct.
The difference is our military people that use a firearm platform like that, they have a selector switch that they can fire
Burst
semi-automatic, burst, or full auto. And these absolutely do not have
These do not. These comply with all federal law concerning what we can own. We cannot, without special licensing, own full auto burst fire. We get semi-auto. These are fully compliant firearms.
just like any semi-automatic sporting rifle. So this Colt now, this is a good manufactured Colt, long-standing, got a good name in the industry and everything. What's something like that go for?
That Colt is going to go for about $1,600.
Okay.
I want to point out that these are selling at retail, even in a time where prices are so volatile.
Right.
Prices have been pushed to the absolute max.
Right.
In the shop, we're selling these at retail.
Right.
$1,600 is going to get you the Colt quality. It's going to get you a gun that is entirely mil spec, meaning that this thing is compatible with any other AR on the market, as long as they keep to the true mil spec design.
Right.
It offers the mil spec barrel. This offers the Colt military style flip up range adjustable sight. Quickly adjusts from 200 out to 600 yards of elevation.
Right.
Very fine quality, just as Colt has always been.
Sure.
They've fought our skirmishes now for the last 40 years.
Sure. Now, what about the Delton?
Delton's one of many companies making their version of the Colt AR-15. Again, most of these are mil-spec guns. The Delton is a very nice gun at the price, fully functional, very reliable, and only about $7.5.
Wow. And what's interesting, if you look at these two, and I'm looking at to see the differences, I mean, structurally, they look almost identical. They got a little different barrel on the Colt than the Delton. The sight, the Delton doesn't have the flip-up sight like the Colt does, but everything else, I mean, this has got a collapsible stock. That's to adjust for the shooter's length.
Exactly.
People say, oh, that's a military gun. Well, that's designed, you and I, we both got different length of arms, and one stock may not fit all. With these adjustable, you can actually get it to fit you. So, and both of these, I assume, are chambered for the 223.
These are both chambered 223, 5.56.
Okay.
And let's face it, I'm a short guy. It's nice to shorten up that stock and have a gun that fits me.
I mean, I don't have real long arms either, and I happen to have an AR platform rifle, and boy, it's nice when you can adjust that stock to fit you, because the name of the game is accuracy.
Well,
I use mine for hunting, and that's what I needed to be accurate.
That nice winter coat when you're out there hunting is going to add an inch of padding on you.
Sure. So, and you say, now, I was just recently at a gun show in Kingman. These ARs were going $1,500, $2,000. You're selling them for $775.
$775 up to about $1,600 on the highest end.
And now, why aren't you charging more for this? I mean, there's a frenzy out there. Why aren't you doing it?
It's not that I couldn't. It's not that people wouldn't pay it. But these customers that are coming into my shop have been loyal to me for the 2 years that we've started up, and I want to earn their loyalty into the future as well as that of any new customers to arrive.
Okay.
The brief moment in the sun, the brief chance to earn that extra dollar just isn't as appealing as that long-term customer.
Okay. So this is about customer loyalty and appreciation of what your customers have brought to you and what they're doing for you, and so you're giving it back to them.
Without them, I don't have a business.
That's right. And I assume that these have rail mounts, Picatinny mounts, where it means they can put a scope on there, they can put iron sights on there, whatever they want.
These can be adapted anywhere from the common 3x9 hunting scope that you or I might use on coyotes up to the latest in military tech, even night vision and the infrared that's starting to become popular with the varmint callers.
Now I noticed that people say, well, what do you use this for? Well, we use ours. We go prairie dog shooting. We go varmint hunting with it, and that is an ideal setup for a javelina hunt. It's light. The round is not so destructive that it causes a mass destruction on a javelina. So when you take one, you still got a lot of meat there to eat. So and like I say, the thing that I found that's really interesting is now the manufacturers are making them in more typical hunting calibers, 260 Remington, up to the big guns. I mean, I think somebody made a 338, and yet it's on that platform. And like I say, it's just a shame that it takes on the misnomer that it's some bad, evil thing, when in fact it is just a semi-automatic rifle. So, you know, it's just, you know, it's unfortunate because they're a neat platform. And one thing I like about them, they're extremely accurate.
They
I mean,
are.
you know, people, semi-automatic rifles, you know, generally are not known to be tack drivers. But I'll tell you what, the AR platforms that I've been associated with, my AR can shoot literally dime-inch groups at 100 yards, which is what I need for when I'm out prairie dog hunting or varmint hunting. So it's a good platform, and you know, like I say, it's just a shame it gets the bad rap that it's got. And you know, we know that you know, it's not the implement. If there's a problem out there, it's with the people. Now that illegally, you know, get them. When somebody comes into your gun shop, what do they have to do in order to buy one of these?
Anybody buying a firearm from me goes through the standard federal background check as laid out by the ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. It's a background check run by the FBI through what they call their NICS system.
Okay.
It's a criminal background check. It's looking for current indictments. It's looking for past criminal history. Now, there's a big misconception that these guns are recorded when they purchase them, that these guns are registered. They couldn't be further from the truth. There is no registration on the federal level, only in smaller local jurisdictions, California for instance. But as far as the federal government is concerned, no registration. So at the time of purchase, we're checking to make sure they can appropriately own this, however not registering it.
Right. So you know, people that buy these, they don't need to fear that somebody is going to come up to their door, kick their door in and say, listen, we know you bought this AR at the gun shop, we know you bought this Glock at the gun shop, and we know you bought 1,000 rounds of assorted ammunition. We want to see it.
No worries on that. They, as long as we follow the law in those background checks, they don't care one lick about what gun you're buying that day. As far as ammo goes, I don't even need to know your name. Just bring the cash and carry the ammo.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about some very affordable handguns for those that may need something for self-protection, home protection. So don't go away. We're going to be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin, and with me today is the gun shop owner, Chris Wagner. Now, Chris, when we left, we had talked about the AR platforms. Let's talk about some handguns. Home security and right now is I think an important issue. And as an individual, you know, we have to protect our homes. You know, we call the police. I worked for the police department for years. I know how long it takes us to respond, or how long it did. And you know, quite frankly, if somebody is beating down your door and you call 911, you know, the officers are going to get there quick, maybe within 5 minutes. But in that time, some drug-crazed hoodlum kicks your door in, and he's got harmful intent on his mind. He can come in and wreak havoc with your home and with your family. And in America, we have a right to protect our home. We have what we call the castle doctrine, which means our home is our castle. And if you come breaking in, then you know, we have a right to defend our home, our families. And you know, one of the things that now is popular for home defense is semi-automatic and revolver. So let's talk a little bit about them. Let's talk about one now that you know, we've seen it on the TV and it's advertised. They call it the judge or the public defender, and you've got one of those today. Tell us a little bit about that.
Made by Taurus, the judge, in this case, the public defender. This is their concealed carry version. Okay. 2-inch barrel, 2.5-inch cylinder, short grip. This is made to tuck easily in the waistband type holster. This is a shotgun that you can conceal.
Okay.
It shoots both 45 Colt, but more importantly, the 410 shot shell. Because it shoots the 410 and the 45 both, it's legal to own as literally a short barrel shotgun.
Okay.
Extremely effective
double action?
firearm. Double action.
Okay, which means, for those that don't know, you can shoot it by just merely pulling the trigger. You don't have to. This is single action. Double action means you can pull the trigger and it'll fire. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to snap it, but that's the premise. And like you say, it shoots a 410.
It does.
410 shotgun.
This is going to fire 5 times as fast as you can pull that trigger. That 410 is brutally effective. This is going to spread out probably in the range of 18 inches wide in about 6-7 yards. I mean, maximum defense distance. It's hard to miss with this.
Right. And, let's take a scenario where you're in your home at night, you're in bed, all of a sudden you hear the door get kicked in, there's no lights on, and, all of a sudden, your bedroom door's kicked open, you're on the phone to 911, and some guy walks in with a crowbar, and you have to make a decision at that point. What are you going to do? It's dark, you can't see, all you see is maybe a silhouette, and with something like this, you don't know what that individual's got. He may have a handgun, he may have a crowbar, who knows, a knife, and if he starts advancing towards you, then you got to make a decision. Well, with this firearm, you got a little bit of leeway, and you don't have to be exactly on the money. You can be off a little, like you say, if you got an 18-inch spread at 7 yards, and you're going to be frightened, you're going to be adrenaline charged, because all of a sudden you realize your life, your property is being threatened by somebody you have no idea who they are. So that's a good option. What about these other ones? What about this little guy?
Well, the Taurus guns, including the Judge at $399 for these guys.
$399 for
just $399.
Wow.
The Taurus are a great price point gun. They are dependable. They are effective. This is one of our most popular. $199 for these little guys. This is the Taurus 738. This is a 380 round, which for anybody not familiar is a lot like a 9mm, just very slightly shorter.
Yeah.
In fact, in a lot of countries, it's termed a 9mm short.
Okay.
This little gun holds 7 rounds, fits easily in a pocket. It's very narrow.
Yeah.
Narrower than a wallet.
I mean, this is one you could put it in your jacket right there, and it's out of view, out of sight, but yet it's there. And like I say, it's a semi-automatic, which means when you fire it once,
every time you fire that gun, it's going to automatically kick out the old round, pick up a new round, and be ready to fire again in the blink of an eye. It does all that for you.
Self-defense, I mean, obviously this is not something that's designed to shoot 50 yards with. It's designed in your home, in your vehicle. If somebody attacks you, you can get to this and stop the threat.
This gun is designed 100% to save your life.
Okay.
That's what this is.
$200.
$200.
Wow.
Brand new.
Wow. Now, let's talk about something that's a little bit more controversial, if you will. This is a Glock, okay? And this is the Glock 17, okay? And this particular firearm shoots a 9mm?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, we're hearing all this talk about high-capacity magazines. So, what is a high-capacity magazine?
Well, a lot like what is an assault weapon. It's been a long-running joke about the government that, well, I don't know what an assault weapon is, but I'll know it if I see it.
Right.
Well, it used to be accepted that anything over a 10-round magazine was going to be a high-capacity magazine.
Okay.
Now there's states that are starting to look at 7 rounds for these things. They're encroaching further and further on our rights as citizens, on our firearms.
This is a Glock.
This is.
Okay. And this particular firearm shoots a 9mm.
That's correct. This is the Glock 17. This was the first Glock to hit our streets, to become available to our public back in the mid-'80s. Okay.
All right. And this highly reliable semi-automatic firearm.
These guns are reliable to the point that they have found their way, from what I've heard and read, into probably 60 to 70% of the law enforcement in the United States.
Are using
Glocks, a gun very similar to this. It may be in the 40 cal, the Glock 22,
right?
But these are such a dependable firearm that they have just swept the industry.
Okay, and this particular one, what's the magazine capacity?
This is 17 rounds.
Okay, so under any proposed legislation, you wouldn't be able to utilize this.
There's a darn good chance that the legislation coming down the pipe is going to take this magazine away from us.
Wow. And what would it be replaced with?
10 rounds.
10 rounds. So you'd lose almost 40% of the capacity. And again, if you're in your home and you got an intruder and you have to engage that intruder and it's at night, it would seem to me that I would want all the availability of firepower right there without fumbling around looking for another magazine, because let's face it, if the guy's coming in and he's got a firearm, do you think he's worried about a law about high-capacity magazines?
No, you know, the facts, to quote the facts, the average shooting is about 3 rounds in the average defensive shooting.
Okay.
But you don't see police carrying a 3-round magazine.
No.
They're going to take every opportunity they can get to protect themselves.
Sure.
And there's no reason we shouldn't either.
Sure. And now this particular firearm, like I say, it's a Model 17 Glock, currently has a 17-round magazine. And what's the price on one of these babies?
The Glock pistols, depending on the Generation 4, Generation 3s, are running about $540 to $575.
Okay.
I can't tell you how hard these are to come by now. In spite of the fact that we have a number of them in the shop, there's no quicker way to make something extremely desirable than to tell somebody you can't have it.
And then
So these are a hot commodity, but they are in stock right now.
okay. Now this is a Glock 26.
This is essentially the same firearm trimmed down. Shorter barrel, shorter grip. This is a 10-round magazine, not because of any legislation, but because of the size of the hand grip.
Right. And it's again, it's a this particular firearm's small. You could put it in your pocket.
It conceals very easily.
Very easily concealed. Ladies could put it in their purse. I understand they even make specialized purses.
They do.
And so a lady could carry one of these in her purse. This particular firearm, if it's loaded and you pull the trigger, it's going to fire, eject the old round, put another live round in it, right?
Absolutely correct.
Recoil?
Nominal recoil, especially on the 9mm. There's a lot of punch there, and more than people give it credit for when we're talking in terms of energy delivery to the target.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's a small projectile, gaining that energy through its velocity, how fast it's going. So it doesn't give you a lot of recoil.
Okay.
And it's also fair to say that even the subcompact Glocks have found their way into law enforcement in the form of backup guns.
Backup guns.
Very popular for that.
Well, I know back in my day when I was a police officer, we didn't even have semi-automatics. We all had snub-nosed revolvers, Smiths, and Colt Detective Special, Smith Model 60s, and like I say, you could sure see as a former law enforcement officer, I could see where carrying a subcompact, as a backup gun in case you lost your other gun or had it taken away or it became disabled or whatever. That you would have a backup where you could defend yourself, and then if you're a police officer, you're out there defending the public. So, but you got these out there at your shop.
We've got these and many more. In stock at the present, even in this volatile market. Oh, we've got the range of them: Smith & Wesson, Springfield, HK Heckler & Koch, and FN Fabrique Nationale, top world military brands.
Wow.
All there for the public.
And you have other sporting rifles?
We have a whole variety of sporting shotguns, sporting rifles. We have the rifles for hunting, deer, elk, shooting long range. We've got the fun little plinkers, the 22s, the 17 calibers.
Oh, wow. Super. How about ammo? You have any trouble getting ammo?
Having a lot of trouble getting ammo, as is everybody right now. Ammo's coming in weekly. 22 long rifle remains very hard to get.
Wow.
And what we're seeing is we're seeing a delivery every week of 10,000 rounds or better, and it's gone in as little as 5 minutes, sometimes as much as a day.
Really? I know we got some information, and they said every caliber is now allocated from the ammo manufacturers. They said all plants are producing as much ammo as possible with 1 billion rounds produced weekly. However, most of it is military, followed by law enforcement, and civilians are third in line. So, and I understand components are even getting, for those of us that reload, it's getting hard to get powder.
Traditionally, every time it gets hard to get ammo, when we do the rush on ammo, that spurs an equal rush on reloading. People start to dust off the old reloading press. New people become interested and began to take up the hobby.
Yeah. Primers are really hard to find.
Primers are about impossible right now. Powder is dwindling. Bullets are a tough one as well.
Okay. So, but you have a full line of this stuff out there at your shop.
It's been hit pretty hard over the last couple of months.
Now, you was telling me off camera that this has been as busy as you've ever been.
Never seen anything like it. I've only been in the industry 2 years, as we discussed, but talking with the guys that have been in 4 years and more, even the rush back in 2008 didn't equal what we're experiencing now.
All right, Chris, I want to thank you for being here today. Folks, if you need to buy some personal defense firearms like we've got here, feel free to go out there and talk to Chris or his staff out there at the gun shop. So until next week, This is your host, Don Martin, reminding you, keep your firearms oiled, your fishing line fresh, and we'll see you next week back at camp.